Hey y'all, it's Bailey with your Claim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on today's video. Today we have two pretty awesome projects, if I do say so myself. I was going to add a little bit more to this video, but y'all, I was just kind of in a rare mood last week, and I did not feel like editing any more footage. But today's projects are so good, they can stand alone in a video. Y'all let me know what you think about them, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Hey friends, today we are starting off at my sink. I'm going to run some nice warm soapy water. I picked up a spice rack and the labels on it just were not hitting for much, so I wanted to replace the labels, and the easiest way to get labels off like this is just to let it soak for about 30 minutes to an hour in some nice hot soapy water. So I threw them in there open with the lids and I let them do their thing, and they just peeled off like a dream. As for the actual spice rack, it needed some work too. The poor little drawer was all to pieces, and a couple of the front rails were coming apart. But that is a easy fix. I'm just going to come in with some super glue and accelerating spray, and we're going to get these pieces fixed right up. You might can't tell from looking at the video, but there's still a nail in this piece, but it just doesn't have anything to bite down to anymore. So I'm just shoving that nail back in its same hole. And with the super glue and accelerating spray, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to do the same thing with the drawers. Of course, there's no nails needed here. I'm just going to use the super glue and the accelerating spray. It's not like this is going to be holding something very heavy. Next, I'm going to come in and start giving the spice rack a good scuff sand. I had a piece of wood break off on the other side, so I used a bit coarser of a grit there to flatten that out, but everywhere else I'm just going to use a 220 and just give it some micro texture. Then I'm going to wipe everything off well before we go outside and prime it with a couple coats of shellac based primer. I took the lids off of the jars too and gave them a couple coats of this primer. It's going to help our milk paint stick to it. If not, the paint would probably flake right on off, and we don't want that. We just want crackle. We want it to adhere good. I had some extra creamy milk paint already mixed up from another project, and you know, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I'm going to use this rest of this on the actual rack, and I did two and a half coats, and it got really good coverage with that. Of course, I'm drying in between each layer with my heat gun. I just really think that's an important step if you're going after that crackle and that chippy look. And here are our new labels. I bought these off of Etsy. I don't mind sharing them with you. If you want them, email me and I'll download them again and send them to you. But I just love the colors in these. It comes with 2 pages worth and some blank ones, but of course I'm not going to be able to use all of these. So I just chose the most popular spices and herbs that I could pull out, and I am just going to fussy cut around them, trying my best to get rid of all the white. But if there is a little bit of white on the edge, we can come in with our permanent black IOD ink and a little paintbrush and kind of feather that in along the edges, and that will hide that line very, very well. So I just did this to all the labels we cut out. I think I have 16 bottles, so I picked 16 different labels. I'm going to use Mod Podge to get these adhered to the glass bottles. I dumped out way too much there, so I'm going to pour a little bit back in. And I'm going to apply the Mod Podge to the back side of the label. I'm going to figure out placement because these bottles do, like, they have a seam on it, and I want that seam to be towards the back. I'm going to brush on a nice even layer of the Mod Podge, make sure I got that seam to the back still, and I'm just going to press it on the glass. I'm going to grab a paper towel and use that to smush the label down flat. I didn't get any wrinkles. It didn't even try to wrinkle. So here I'm just making sure the Mod Podge is off the glass surface because you will be able to see that when it dries. But if you don't get it all this time, after we put a layer of Mod Podge over top of the labels to seal it, and that's dry, I did come back in with like a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip and cleaned up around the label. I didn't record that for some reason, but you definitely don't want the Mod Podge to dry on the glass, just the label. So here are our primed copper lids, and I grabbed Basil Sweet Pickins Milk Paint because I felt like it was the best green to match with our labels, and I knew it would go well with the creamy color we painted the rack. So I'm going to do 1 scoop of powder with about 3/4 of a scoop of water just to make sure my mixture is a bit thicker than usual. I'm going to mix that together well and let it sit for at least 10 minutes. And then we're going to come in and start painting our primed lids. This did take 2 coats, and again, I am drying in between the coats. When using milk paint, you really think it's going to have bad coverage. Like, just look at these right now. But once you get that paint dry, it needs to be 100% dry before moving on to that next step. Look at that crackle it's giving us. This second coat is going to adhere to that first coat and really give you the coverage. And it just surprises me every time. You would think a watered down paint is going to have crappy coverage. But it doesn't, so yay. Either way, we did 2 coats, let that dry, and we got some gorgeous crackle on these and a little bit of chipping with that copper coming through. I'm going to clear these, or not clear these, I'm going to seal these with Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax. It's just the perfect finish to go over something that needs to be food grade. And then jumping back to our rack, I'm going to do a little bit of distressing, not much, just to highlight some of those curvy details and around the edges. And just to smooth that milk paint down, I'm going to go over the whole piece. I did get a little bit of chipping right here, which was fun. I'm going to dust that off and clear, I don't know why I keep on saying clear, and seal it the same way using that Sweet Pickins Dark Oil Wax. I brush it on, let it sit for about 10 minutes before I come in and wipe it off with a blue lint-free shop towel. And really, that is all for this project. I love how it came out. Y'all let me know your thoughts. I priced this piece for $43. And if I'm not mistaken, it has sold. I'll let you know for sure in a second. Moving on to our next project, a cute shot of Roscoe, is this corner cabinet. I paid $15 for this at a yard sale, I believe last summer. So it's been kicking around my workshop for a while, which really surprises me because I remember when I found this piece, I was so excited to work on it, but then it just sat because inspiration just did not come for the piece. But we're going to get working on it now. The hinges do not come off. So I'm not going to mess with them. It's just going to create more headache. I couldn't even get the knob off, but later down the road, I had to get it off because of what we end up doing with it. But for right now, I just left it on because it helps me open the door. I am going to scuff sand this piece well, but over this center panel area, I'm going to make sure it is completely smooth so none of that design comes through our finished project. I did remove the hanging hardware on the two ends right there. I just didn't show y'all, but now we're coming in and giving the piece a good wipe down. I'm just using a microfiber rag and some Windex. And now it's time to prime. I'm going to use my favorite Bullseye Shellac Base Primer. I probably go through 3 or 4 of these cans a month, and I know it can be kind of pricey, but in my opinion, it is worth it when you want that chipping and crackle look. I'm going to make sure I seal this piece well, especially over that center plywood area, because that will bleed sometimes. Next, we're jumping back in the workshop to mix up some milk paint. This is Antique Ironstone, and I have not used this color yet, but it is a new favorite. I love it. I'm going to do 3 or 4 scoops of powder and then a scoop less of that of water just to create a thicker mixture than usual. I'm going to mix those together well, let them set up, you know the drill, for about 10 minutes. And then we paint. I am only going to use this Antique Ironstone color on the green. So I'm going to leave the inside alone for right now, and that center panel area, that's going to be a different color in a later step. But for right now, I'm just going to work on getting this first coat on, and I'm applying it pretty thick. I want some larger cracks in my milk paint this time, and from my experience, the thicker you put on the milk paint and force dry it, the thicker the cracks are going to be. Here is what we're looking after that first coat is fully dry. We are getting some gorgeous crackle here and a little bit in that corner area. But we're going to get some more. We just got to keep on adding our layers. Like I said, that first coat always looks a little iffy, but just look at this second coat going on. It amazes me like how good the coverage is. Doesn't it amaze y'all, or am I just fascinated by something stupid? Either way, yo, look at that crackle. It excites me. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. But either way, we're coming in with a all-in-one paint. This is Fusion in the color Lamp White. This is a pure white color, the most whitest white I think Fusion has. And we are going to paint the center panel this color, really being careful to cut in along those edges. And I'm also going to paint the inside this color. Having this antique white up against this white is just such a pretty look in my opinion. I have a gun cabinet that I'm going to be making over soon, and I think this is the paint combination I'm going with. Once that is dry, I did 2 coats on the center panel and 2 coats on the inside. I'm grabbing out a oldie but goodie. This is Folk Story. It's a continuous stamp, and I just envisioned this piece having this stamp on that center panel. So first, I'm going to tape up and protect those edges. I was just worried that the black ink would get on my milk paint, and I wasn't trying to go through that. So just taping up the edges is going to be a good move. I'm going to ink up the back of the stamp well, and I am not using a piece of plastic or anything. I need this stamp to be as flexible as possible, and I'm just going to hold and press and really try to press it into that area on the edges as well as I can. And then I will just re-ink up that top area and do the same thing. And honestly, y'all, I did not get the best impression. I have to practice my stamping. I'm sure some of y'all can relate. It's just you got to practice in it to be good. I stared at it. Mama came over and she stared at it, and I said, Mama, I've got to redo this. I was about to take a baby wipe to it, but I was like, maybe I can live with it. So I didn't do that in time to wipe off any of the ink. I even removed the tape. And I wanted more than anything to take that center panel out. I wanted to take that center panel out so no edges or anything would be in my way when I went to lay the whole sheet stamp down. Like how it doesn't go to the edges, I felt like that was keeping me from getting the good impression. So I started looking and checking things out, like, can I get this center panel out? How is it in there? And I just realized I would literally probably have to rebuild this door, and it's just not worth it. So I'm not going to go that route. Instead, I painted over that stamp with 2 more coats of white, and then I restamped it. I didn't record it because I was very frustrated. And the impression was a lot better. Love this look. The impression is a 10 out of 10 for me this time. So, again, practice makes perfect. Don't be afraid to redo something. Hell, I probably redo half of my projects sometimes. Either way, we're distressing, we're sanding, everything's smooth. Just some light distressing, not much. Next, I'm going to clean up this bottom area, just adding a couple coats of that lamp white all-in-one fusion paint. And then once this was dry, I didn't show y'all this either. I'm sorry, I am slacking apparently. I added some rubber feet on the bottom of it just to raise it just a smidge off of someone's counter or wherever they put it. And now we are protecting that milk paint using some fusion agent wax. I'm going to work in sections here since I didn't apply a clear coat or any clear wax first. I don't want this to end up being too dark, but I do want it to have some age and some grunge, especially in the cracks that we created and in the corners and nooks and crannies. So I'm just going to work section by section, wiping it off, and if a spot gets a little too dark for my liking, I can come in with the clear wax and buff off the excess. And that is it for this project, y'all. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Y'all let me know what you think. I priced it for $67. But yeah, that's all I have for y'all today, my friends. I'm sorry this video is so short. I was kind of in a funk earlier and just did not feel like editing anymore. So yeah, we'll be back and better next week, I promise. If you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know, what are you working on right now? And consider subscribing if you have not already. I appreciate y'all spending your time with me so much, and I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.